Hello class 7 students. Today we are going to start another chapter from your book Snowflakes, that is chapter number 6, The Land of the Giants. So let's see about what is given in this chapter. This chapter is the extract which is taken from the famous book Gulliver's Travel. I think you have heard the name, and it is about the voyage of Gulliver. Okay, so the story here which is given here, it is narrated in the first person. Okay, so let's see. Nature and fortune having destined me to active and restless life, 2 months after my return from Lilliput, I left my native country on the board the adventure bound for Surat. So the person here, the author here, he's saying that the nature and his luck, okay, they both together made him active and made his life a restless life. Okay, he doesn't have a time to take rest. 2 months after 2 months, when he returned from Lilliput, again he have to left for his native country. Then he, for leaving his native country, he has to board the ship. That is again a new adventure. He has to face again a new adventure which will be bound for Surat. We had a very prosperous wind. So when they started their journey, they experienced a very prosperous wind until and unless they arrived at the Cape of Good Hope. Okay, so Cape of Good Hope is located at the southern tip of the Cape Peninsula in South Africa. Okay, so you can also find in the Google properly where is Cape of Good Hope, and then winter there. So there the season is winter season. Okay, in the Cape of Good Hope it is winter season. We set sail again in March. So again they started their sail in March and had a good voyage. So they had a good journey till they passed the Strait of Madagascar. So they continue with a good journey. See, whenever the travelers, okay, they set their sail, okay, from this country to that country, okay, especially through these voyages, so they never achieved their destination within 1 day or 2 day. It may take 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, like that. So they have a very good voyage till they pass the Strait of Madagascar, which is northward of that island. Then suddenly a gale began to blow, a heavy wind began to blow with some violence, with some very ferocious sound, and the captain bid us all prepare against a great storm. So the captain, he hinted each and every crew member to get ready to face a very great storm. Okay, so it was a very fierce storm and continued over 20 days. So they suffered, they have to face that fierce storm. Okay, and that also for how many days? For 20 days, for continuously 20 days they had to suffer the fierce storm in the middle of the sea. The storm carried our ship about 500 leagues. So the storm, they pushed their ship up to 500 leagues from the destination. 500 leagues means 2778 kilometer, okay, away from their destination toward the east. So the oldest sailor on board could not tell in what part of the world we were. So as the storm, they had mislead their way. Okay, so the very experienced sailor on the board, he also could not find out that in which part of the world they are right now. Our provision held out well. So whatever the provision they had, like food, water, clothing, everything they had till that time very well, and their ship was also very strong and sturdy. Okay, and their crew members were all in good condition after that storm. Okay, so no one get hurt, even not a ship also. But we were in the utmost distress of water. But they need water, they have food supplies, everything, but they need drinking water. Okay, they lack water. We thought it best to hold on the same course till we reach land and determined our whereabout. So they thought that whatever is remain there in the ship, so they will somehow they will adjust with that, and later on wherever they will get a land, so there they will board the ship and they will again take some drinking water, food supplies, everything. Okay, then after a couple of days later, they came in view of a great island. So after a couple of days of their journey, they saw a great island or continent, you can say, on the south side of which was a creek. So creek means a small river. Okay, so they saw an island from far away. They saw an island. We cast anchor within a league of this creek. So they cast their anchor from the thousand of distance. Okay, like 500 kilometer away from the shore, seashore. Okay, so they thought to board their ship on that island, and our captain sent a dozen of his men and vessels for water. So as they landed on that island, so the captain, they sent dozens of his men with vessels to bring drinking water if any could be found. So they asked them to find out water. If they get any water, any good water, fresh water, so they asked them to fill up the vessels. I desired his leave to go with them. So he also, the author also, he went with the no people who were sent to bring the water, that I might see the country and make the discoveries I could. So not to, he did not went to fetch water, he want to explore new things in that island. Okay, so he want to make some discoveries in that island if he could. When we came to land, we saw no river or spring, nor any sign of inhabitants. So when they finally landed that island, they found that there is no sign of river, there's no spring. Okay, no waterfall, nothing is there, not even a sign of people, animals, nothing. Okay, the man wandered on the shore to find out some fresh water near the sea. So the man who were asked to fill up the vessels with water, they are wandering here and there on the shore to find out some fresh water near the sea. And then after, the author, he walked alone about a mile on the other side, and the author, he walked alone on the other side for a mile. Okay, where I observed the country all barren and rocky. There he observed that this continent, this island is all barren. Okay, dry and rocky. Seeing nothing to entertain my curiosity, I returned gently toward the creek. So he did not find anything entertaining. Okay, he did not find anything as he expected according to his curiosity. Then he returned gently toward the creek. Okay, toward his ship, and he saw our men already in the boat and rowing for life to the ship. And then what he found, that the rest of the men who went out with the vessels to fill up the water, they are already moving toward the ship and moving for the life. Means they, means it's something like that, it's someone is following them. Okay, and trying to hurt them. So they are running toward the ship hurriedly as possible. Then the author, he was also puzzled at what happened. I was going to holla after them when I observed a huge creature walking after them in the sea. So holla means making a very big sound. So he almost about to shout and ask them that what happened. Then suddenly he found that a huge creature walking after them in the sea. A huge creature means double of him, as double means triple or 10 times of them. Okay, and then as fast as he could. So that creature also moving after them as fast as he could. He waded not much deeper than his knees and took prodigious strides. So he also started to run. Okay, I dared not to stay to see the end of the adventure, but ran as fast as I could, the way I first went. So he did not see that where he means he did not see that how no near that large creature is coming toward him. Just he want to run as fast as could. Okay, and he want to board the ship. Next paragraph. I fell into a high road, for so I took it to be, though it served to the inhabitant only as a footpath through a field of corn. So somehow he lost his path. Okay, and then after to to save his life, to escape his life, he had to hide himself in the field of corn. Okay, in the middle of the field of corn. Here I walked on for some time, but could see little on either side. So there he walked for some time, but he could not see, means either side, means opposite of anything, means what is it there. It being now near harvest, and the corn rising at the least 40 feet. So the height of the corn is almost 40 feet, and it is almost, the corn are also ripe. Okay, now it is almost harvesting season. Okay, so I had walked for an hour across this field when I saw one of the inhabitants advancing toward me, of the same size as the one I saw in the sea pursuing our boat. So as he want to save his life, but he could not, so he could not board the ship. Okay, so he had to lost his path, and he had to hide. He had to find a better place to hide himself from that creature, huge creature. And where he hide himself, he went immediately to the near cornfield, okay, ripe cornfield. So there also he found a creature, a large creature moving towards him, okay, and it is of the same size which he saw near the seashore, okay. Then after I saw in the sea pursuing our, okay, I saw one of the inhabitant advancing toward me of the same, okay, here up to here I finished. I was struck with the utmost fear and astonishment and ran to hide myself in the corn. So as he saw the huge creature is coming toward him, he felt very fearful. He felt very afraid, and then he immediately ran and hid himself in the middle of the cornfield. He called in a loud voice, whereupon 7 monsters like himself came with reaping hook in their hand. So he noticed that the huge creature, he said something in a loud voice, and immediately same like him, he means he said those people as monster because they are like huge, more huge than the author. So when he called a loud voice, then again he saw that 7 monsters same like him. They also present, they also came to the cornfield with something in their hand, a reaping hook, okay, reaping hook in their hand. Reaping hook means the what you can say, the instrument to cut the cornfield, okay. Each hook about the largeness of 6 Ch6. So Ch6 is a large tool, long piece of tool which is used to cut corns, okay, or you can say ripe corns or ripe paddy fields, paddy corns like that. So these people went to reap the corn in the field where I lay. So why those 7 monster or that huge creature against those 7 creature come in the cornfield? They come to reap the corn. I kept from them at as great as a distance I could. So he tried to keep himself as far as he could from them, but was forced to move with extreme difficulty. But it is very difficult for him to move, okay, for the stalk of the corn were not above a foot distance, so that I could hardly squeeze my body between them. So he was in the middle of the corn, so he cannot move his body. As he will move his body, those people will get to know that something is there in the middle of the corn. So he hardly moved his body. And at the same time I heard the reaper not 100 yards behind me. Overcome my grief and despair, I lay down between 2 ridges and heartily wished I might there end my days. So he heard the reapers, they are talking, who are standing behind him, and no, in this way he was feeling very grief. He overcome with grief and despair, he feel very sad. And then after he lay down there between the ridges of the corn, and he was thinking that will be the, now this time will be the end of his life. I bemoaned my desolate widow and fatherless children, and lamented my own folly and willfulness in attempting a second voyage. So he bemoaned means he started to cry, and then after he he was thinking about his widow and fatherless children, okay, and he was thinking that his wife will become widow now, his children will become fatherless, and in that way, by thinking all these things, he started to cry. Lamented means he started to cry by his own, by observing about his own condition, okay, that he could not take a second voyage, means now in his life, in his entire life, he will not get another chance to take a second voyage. Then against the advice of all my friends and relations, then he again thinking about all his friends and relations also, means he thought that now this will be the end of his life. So before thinking, he was thinking about his wife who is going to be widow, about his children who is going to be fatherless, about his friends and relatives, everyone. So in this terrible agitation of mind, I could not forbear thinking of Lilliput. So means agitation means distraction, so he's very distracted, and now he could not think of Lilliput, whose inhabitants looked upon me as the great prodigy that ever appeared in the world, where I was able to draw an imperial fleet in my hand and perform other actions which will be recorded forever in the chronicles of their empire. So in the Lilliput he got shorter people than him, right? So whatever he had done in the Lilliput, so those things also cannot be get recorded, no one will remind of him. So he was thinking everything like that. I reflected what a mortification it must prove to me to appear as inconsiderable in this nation as one single Lilliputian would be among us. But this I conceive was to be the least of my misfortune, for what I expect but to be a morsel in the mouth of the first among this enormous barbarian that should happen to seize me. So he was thinking about the Lilliputians, that means what he had done there, okay, and then he is thinking about his own miserable condition, that what is going to happen next with him, that he is going to be in the mouth of this people, okay, like he said that these are barbarian people, he said these people now they will kill him. So he was thinking all about the miserable condition that would happen with him now, okay. Next, scared and confounded as I was, when one of the reaper approached within 10 yards of the ridge where I lay, and it seemed that I could be squashed to death under his foot. So he was very, very scared and confounded, means fearful. So with fearful and scarefully he was as he was. So he found out that one of the reaper he approached toward him, and as he was reaping the corn, and he was almost little of the inch, like little inch far, means he was almost squashed to death under his foot, okay. Then he screamed as loud as fear could make me. So he screamed as loud as he could. The huge creature stopped and looked round about him. The huge creature he listened something, he heard something, and then after he looked round about him, that from where this voice came. And at last he espied me as I lay on the ground, and at last he found out that who was that person screaming, and he found him on the ground. He considered me a while as one would a strange creature. So he also considered him as a strange creature, because he is very, very short, right? And then taking me by the middle between his forefinger and thumb, so he took him, he held him by his middle and the forefinger and thumb, and then he brought the author toward his 3 yards of his eyes. Then he might behold my shape more perfectly, means he is trying to observe that what kind of creature is this now, okay. I resolved not to struggle as he held me in the air above 60 feet from the ground. So he also did not moved, he also did not try to escape from him, because where he is now, he is in the air, that is above 60 feet on the ground. So somehow if he will fall in the ground, then he will definitely die. So he did not move, he stand stiff in middle of his finger. Although he grievously pinched my side, then the man, that huge creature, he pinched his sides, okay, for fear I should slip through his fingers. So he also has the fear, the author also has the fear that I might be slipped, and if he will slip, then obviously he will lose his life. Then I placed my hand together in a supplicating posture and spoke some word in a humble tone. Then he placed his hand together, okay, the way we say namaskar, like that, no? So he placed his hand together and then spoke some word in a humble tone. I apprehended every moment that he would dash me against the ground, as we usually do any little hateful animal which we have a mind to destroy. So he thought that if I will do something wrong with him now, okay, then he will definitely dash me against the ground, okay, as like we do whenever we actually, suppose you pick up an ant, and ant try to hurt you, okay. So at the time what we do, we just immediately dash it, okay. So he also had the fear that he may leave his hand, he may or the author might be slip from his hand. So but he appeared pleased with my voice and gesture, and to look upon me as a curiosity. So instead of dashing me into the ground, he looked very, very pleasing with his voice and the gesture, and then he took look at the author in a very curious way. Lifting up a corner of his coat, he put him gently into it. So he lifted up the corner of his coat, and then he put him inside the coat and ran to his master, who was a substantial farmer. So his master was also a farmer, and the same person I had first seen in the field. So he was the same person whom he had first seen in the field. The farmer poked at me with a piece of a small straw. So the farmer, he poked him Okay, lightly he poked him with a piece of a small straw about the size of walking staff and blew my hair aside to get a better view of my face. So he blew his hair to look his face properly. Okay, then after, so let's move to the next page. He then placed me softly on the ground upon all fours, but I got immediately up. So he placed him softly on the ground, okay, without dashing him down, and then he immediately stood up and walked slowly backward and forward to let him see I had no intent to run away. So he just swiftly, slowly he moved backward and forward to show him that he don't have any intention to run away. The master sat down, okay, the better to observe my motion. So the master also is set down to observe his motion, that what he is trying to do, okay, what the author trying to do. I pulled off my hat. He pulled off his hat and made a low bow. So he made a low bow. I think all of you know now that pulling the hat and then make a bow posture. Then I fell on my knees, then lifted up my hands and eyes and spoke several words as loud as he could. Okay, then the farmer was at length convinced I must be a rational creature. Then the farmer who was standing at the length, he also thought that maybe this is a very nice creature, he will not hurt us. Okay, he doesn't have an intention to hurt us. So he spoke often to me. He also tried to speak to him, but the sound of his voice pierced my ear like that of a water mill. So his sound, as he is a giant creature, okay, so when he talked, his sound, it pierced his ear. Okay, he feel like that water mill, no, sound of the water mill. Okay, so yet his words were articulate enough. I answered as loud as I could in several languages. So he also tried to answer him as loud as could with several languages, and he often laid his ear within 2 yards of me. He also lay his ear within 2 yards of him to listen to him properly, but all in vain. But he could not listen to the creature, means listen to the author, for we were wholly unintelligible to each other. So why he could not listen? Because they are totally different from each other, means he is so small and he is too huge. So his sound is something like a sound of ant, you can say, okay, which you cannot hear. So taking his handkerchief out of his pocket, so he took his hanky out of his pocket, then he doubled it and spread it on his left hand, and which he placed flat on the ground. He put his hand flat on the ground with the palm outside, and then he make him a sign to get up on his hand. Then I thought it best to obey. So he also thought it is better to obey what he want, and for fear of falling, so he also had a fear of falling, he laid myself at put length upon the handkerchief. So he hold him properly in the handkerchief, with the remainder of which he lapped me up to the head for further security. He lapped it up to the head for further security, with the remainder of which and in this manner carried me home to his house. And in this manner he carried to his home, to his house, to show his wife. There he called his wife and showed me to her, but she screamed and ran back, as women in England do at the sight of toad or a spider. So when he showed to his wife, at the time she screamed and then she ran back, okay, as she saw a toad or a spider. So then, however, when she had a while seen my behavior and how well I observed the sign her husband made, and she was soon reconciled, and by degrees grew extremely tender of me. So however, when she had a while seen my behavior, so she also started to observe his behavior, that how I react, means how the author reacting. And after observing, her husband made her convinced that he did not have any intention to hurt you, and he is a good creature. So this is all about the this story. So finally, those giant creature, they did not done anything wrong with him. Okay, they are also human being, but they are very very huge than the author. That's it. But they did not hurt him. They understood that he is also a tenderly person, okay, tenderly creature that will not hurt us. So in this way they kept him properly. So this is all about this story. I hope you understand this story. So till today, this much.